Hi folks, I'm back again with ancient cosmography, and see, I was showing this one, but I didn't finish quite. So like I was showing the fact that this seems to be the full avatar. Like I was thinking this guy was just this part, just the mainland of Papua, and that his legs were Papuan Peninsula here, and that his phallus was Dahlak Island there. But now I'm realizing that it seems more likely that actually his phallus is that Papuan Peninsula is his phallus, and that his legs are actually New Britain here, and that his feet are uh, Solomon Islands down here. So, I mean, when people start confusing your leg and your dick, that's means you're pretty well endowed, I guess. But yeah, this seems to be the case because that explains why he has prominent feet shown pointing the same direction as his phallus and for the same length. So that would be like this archipelago down here, which is like these two rows of islands. And that this is, of course, Australia. And but also another point that I haven't mentioned yet is the fact that even though his arm may be largely symbolic and or it may be connected to some of these islands and seamounts around here, but that it also serves a purpose, as in some of the later Egyptian maps where they'll just have features that are simply to show the shapes of certain aspects. So what the arm does, or what it seems to do, is it shows the shape of this bay here. There's this big gulf between the head and the shoulder, you could say. But here, since it just has the body as this straight thing there, it's only the arm that shows you that indented shape there. So, it's a kind of map within a map. And so, and then this is, Taiwan here seems to be the back foot, feet, whatever of this guy. And, his head is this peninsula right there. Bombayak Peninsula or something. I forget what it's called. Part of, Mindanao. And then his front legs are Sulawesi Island here of Indonesia. So, and it could be that his two front arms are like both this part and, this part here might signify like the other arm. It's hard to know. But like for the feet, it's like this foot is this guy, and then this foot is this guy, and this seems to be the heel. And then here, it shows these 6 islands in front. So there's definitely like more, even, much more than 6 islands right around there. And it seems to show it pretty well, like the contours, like, that it's very solid here in Mindanao, which is one solid island. And then it's kind of solid up here for like this part and this part. This part and this part are somewhat solid. And then there's a lot of empty area around here. And then it's solid again in Luzon. And then it's kind of broken up, and then it's solid again in Taiwan. So the Visayas and whatnot are all like shown basically the way they are, like almost exactly, like this little island here might be like this part here. This one here kind of looks like that one. So it might be extremely exact, even more than is evident. And yeah, Australia, lines up very well. This is Cape York here. And then this part, it goes down. And I'm not sure if this part here is meant to be, land or seamounts around there. If it is land, then it would just be that this part is like right here where it kind of starts to dip down. And then this part is like this part where it dips down much further. And then these legs would be like in here, I guess, or so. But who knows? It can also be like seamounts, or it could even relate to the very light blue water, the kind of geological phenomenon in that Van Diemen Bay or Gulf, Van Diemen Gulf, I think it's called, or Van Diemen or something. And I think it's referred to in the Egyptian Book of Two Ways as the efflux of Osiris. So that's, bodily fluids or something like similar to this. And yeah, the tail part is really well delineated. The tail itself, I'm not exactly sure. It's probably some kind of seamounts around here. But the part just short of the tail is very accurate, as is this. I mean, really all of Australia is pretty accurate in this. And, it could be that Tasmania is this kind of separated bit of hair up here. And that this Gulf is like this part right there. And then you can kind of see the some little pointy peninsulas right there that could be the horns. So there you go. This is the, and then I'm thinking that these are basically this. It's like New Ireland is this long, skinny archipelago. And then Manus Island is this, that island kind of at the tip of it. So that could fit, it does fit in a certain way as a bird. And so yeah, this is one of the oldest paintings in Europe. It's between 15 and 30,000 years old, and I think it's the most famous, most distinctively famous like cave painting on Earth. Like there's some others that are pretty famous, but I think this is the most famous. So it's fun to actually decipher it. Took me a while to decipher it because even though I basically deciphered it like a few years ago, I think like in 2020 or so, I wasn't quite sure because it has these at opposite orientations. Like this is shown, Australia is shown from a bird's eye view, like prograde. And then everything else is shown retrograde. It's shown like flipped around and like inside out, basically, as if you were looking at it from like through the center of the earth and like looking up at it from underneath. So that seemed bizarre, even though I knew that there was some ancient maps that were retrograde. I had not seen a map that was a mix of retrograde and prograde yet. But now that I've studied the Egyptian maps more and I've found other instances of this, I realize it's no impediment to identification. Well, here's just another little comparison of what seems to be a Mayan map of Haiti. You know, Hispaniola, Santo Domingo. And so it seemed like this part includes these seamounts around here. And maybe this line is like the actual coastline. And, you know, it even has this little peninsula right there sticking off from the hoof. And whatnot, you know, this thing on the top is probably, you know, Tortuga right there. And then its bottom jaw seems to be Gonave Island and surrounding seamounts and stuff like that. So, you know, this is another one of the things. You know, I sent both of these to the British academic who like was trashing my work, and she just couldn't see any. You know, she's like, nope, it's not that. Of course, she doesn't know what it is. She couldn't present any alternate theory, but she just was like, no, you don't have credentials, so you can't be right. Which is, I mean, it's pretty hard to imagine, like, what else would this be? Like, you know, why else would they show a lizard with a hoof and no feet other than to show the shape of Hispaniola? Let's see. Oh, yeah, so the Red Hand of Ulster. So Ulster is like where my paternal ancestors are from. Like both my mother's paternal ancestors, the Campbells, where I get my middle name Campbell, and my father's paternal ancestors, the Millars, from which I get my last name Millar. They're both Ulster Scots. And so the Campbells, you know, are originally from here, and then they migrated, or our Campbells, I think, migrated to Donegal, but the Millars settled in Antrim here. So anyway, the Red Hand of Ulster, it's a story where they say, I mean, there's different versions of it. Sometimes they say two kings, sometimes they say two people, but at least in one version they say two giants were competing to take over Ireland, to become Lord of Ireland, to seize Ireland. And they were neck and neck, like one of them was about to touch it. So the other one, because it was like, I think they had an agreement, like whoever's hand touches Ireland first will be its lord. And so they were neck and neck. So I'm guessing that, so basically what I think the giants are, I think the giants are both aspects of Britain or both parts of Britain. And that's, you know, basically in line with the ancient Egyptian avatars of Britain, where Britain is a giant, and he's holding Ireland by Ulster's head. So, this makes sense. Oh yeah, there. So there, there is, and I'm thinking that he might be Finn McCool in the Celtic tradition. He's one of the most famous Celtic giants, or arguably I think he is the most famous Celtic giant. His name became synonymous with Ireland, but he may actually be Britain. Like people, if they're Irish nationalists, they would call themselves Fenians, or they're called Fenians after Finn McCool. But actually, Finn McCool might actually be Britain, or he might even be an avatar for Britain and Ireland combined. But at least in this avatar, it has Britain as a giant, like holding the Outer Hebrides as a club, and he's holding Ulster by the head. So that tells me that his arm is Argyll here, like this peninsula here of Knapdale and Kintyre, which is the closest part of Britain to Ireland. But Galloway here, Strathclyde and whatnot is almost as close. It's like only, like it might be twice the distance, but it's very close. So I think this represents the other giant that was about to touch Ireland. So it was like, to beat out Galloway, the giant whose arm is Argyll had to actually cut off his hand. And it specifies in the story that he so they're neck and neck. The other one is about to touch it, which I think it was Galloway. And so the one whose left arm is Argyll uses his right arm to cut off his left hand, and throw it at the Irish shoreline, and he succeeds, and the hand lands on the shoreline. And in some stories, the hand paints the mountains red, leaves a red mark on the mountains, and thereby he becomes the Lord of Ireland. And so I see in this, this, and a lot of the stories about Finn McCool, a lot of the stories in the Fenian cycle are clearly geography. It's clearly just spell songs to memorize geography. So yeah, this would be his arm, his left arm. This would be his right arm. And so he used his right arm to cut off his hands. So that's why this Argyll or Kintyre or whatever looks like a stump. And so he cuts it off, and then he throws it over here. So, here it's like he cuts it off, throws it on the shoreline of Ireland, and then here he throws it here. So this is, I like augmented the color in the photo just to see the reddishness of the hills a little better. And so this is like the Antrim coast in Ulster. So I think this is the Red Hand of Ulster. It's degraded. Like all these black parts on it are modern agriculture. And so I think originally it would have looked even a lot better as a red hand here. But it still seems to be quite visible. Yeah. I'm not sure if maybe this guy's head is here and this guy's arm is Galloway. So yeah, and the Red Hand of Ulster is the symbol of Ulster. It's the symbol of my people. the Ulster Scots, it's one of our main symbols. And so yeah, here's the here it is with Shetland and the